There's a heavy and vulnerable conversation to have. This platform is a safe place for all individuals to come share their life's journeys of surviving grief without judgment.
Hi, I'd like to welcome you all to the QT Surviving Grief podcast. My name is Tiffany Ware, and I am the podcast host. And I have a very, very, very special guest with me today. I'm so excited to bring this gentleman on. I've known him since probably as a child. So I grew up in Zion Acres, which is kind of between Columbia and Mount Pleasant. And this gentleman lived right across the street from my best friend, Rosalind Otterson.
Yeah.
And and so we go way back. And then a little bit forward, when I was in high school, I approached Mr. Martin because he was over the Boys and Girls Club, and I really wanted to have a volunteer activity, and I wanted it to be something that I was passionate about. And I went to him and presented my whole little case, and he said, "Sure, you can come and start an art club." And so I started an art club.
Yep.
And I thank you for that opportunity, Mr. Martin. And I think Toya Webster,
Yeah.
she helped me, and so that's
Yeah.
going back. That was 2000, probably 3, 4. So
Yeah,
it's been a
that's
while.
right.
But I would like to introduce to some and present to others Mr. James Martin.
Yeah.
Hi, Mr. Martin.
Yeah, well, thank you. It's an honor to be here. Just an honor to watch you grow, and so many people like Toya and all y'all who contribute to that Boys and Girls Club. It wouldn't be a success if it wasn't for y'all, and it still wouldn't be going if it wasn't for y'all. So y'all have definitely made a legacy in Marion County. So I appreciate you having me on your show. It's always an honor when your young people reach back and don't forget. So I appreciate you too as well.
Oh yeah, never. Thank you, Mr. Martin. Oh no, you paved the way for us, so we appreciate you. Your legacy is submitted in so many of our lives. Just the impact you made, and it shows. So we're just a product of it. So, like I said, thank you again. So, Mr. Martin, I always like to start these shows. I always try to find some humor in it. Of course, Quinn was very humorous, had a crazy personality. And I know you are always in the gym. What is your favorite gym workout?
Oh Lord, that's a good question. Probably working biceps. I
Okay.
love working biceps and legs. Legs here lately as I've gotten older because
Hmm.
that's a lot of taking care of your joints, taking care of your tissues. Not squatting so much as heavy as I used to when I was younger, but just flexibility. And then, but I'll probably say bicep and legs. So a lot of my
Gotcha.
buddies right now like, what, legs? Him? He hated legs. I did. I used to hate them when I was younger, but you get older,
Yeah.
you realize, hey, you can have a strong foundation.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you live and learn. It is so true.
Definitely.
So true. Well, Mr. Martin, I want you to just let the people know, who is James Martin. A little bit about your background, your credentials, just your identity. Who is James Martin?
James Martin is someone that God had planned to be here. When I look back at my life and how I got here, pretty well, of course, we're all born, but it's circumstances that we're born into. I was born into a circumstance where I had a man to step into my life and was going to be a father to me versus my mother had another situation that happened to her that was very misfortunate. My mom was date raped. And God had made a plan for this man to come into my life and raise me as a man. His name was Howard Martin Jr., but he's better known as Sonny. And my mother's name is Flora Lee Harris. And he said that he was attracted to my mom with the way she carried herself. So I really do believe image matters because this man stepped into my life and he gave me his last name. When I say he gave me his last name. He taught me how to stand on business, be a real man. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him and my mother who would get empty magazines and wanted her children to see that African American people could get along with people of many different colors, but also be successful without being in the streets. And that had an impact on me. My grandmother, Letty Brown, constantly dressed me up in suits and sweaters and dress shoes and made sure I had a nice haircut. Even though that was her stepdaughter, she took care of me like I was one of her own. And I'm very proud to always look up the sky and tell Granny, I said, hey, I'm in some Tim Fords now. I'm in some, I love my Tim Ford suits. And Granny, I hope you're proud of me. And that was her way of saying, if you dress good, then you feel good. Kind of the saying that Deion Sanders said, if you look good, you feel good. If you feel good, you look good. That was kind of my grandmother's saying. So she invested a lot in me. My grandfather, her husband, Houston Harris Jr. was a hard worker, worked on a farm, worked at a plant too, never stopped working, but enjoyed the life. I remember him buying his boat, buying a brand new pickup truck. He worked hard, he played hard. My other grandfather, Howard Martin Jr., was a hard worker for the sanitation department. He was a city street sweeper who cleaned the streets around the downtown area, basically swept the streets. Done such a well job that the city said once he retires, that job would no longer be. So he was the last one to hold that job. And he was a hard worker. My grandmother, Louise Martin, which I love to sit down with her and watch wrestling. So when people hear me still watching The Rock and all them, I grew up with that stuff. My grandfather told me, he said, hey, they're going to go out and have a couple of beers and laugh about it, eat a couple of chicken wings and go to the next town and do the same thing. And he said, the thing you learn from this is that money is there to be made, but understand the things that happen behind closed doors to make money. There's always a plan to make money. So James Martin is a product of all those people, of grandparents who have taught him the ways. I've always loved older people. When I think I have it tough, I always think about what they went through. And I'm like, if they can survive, I can survive because it's tougher. My Aunt Betty Jean, Aunt Betty Booker, we call her Betty Booker, and Uncle Tom and Ray. They poured so much into me. When my mom died, she said, hey, look, I'm still planning on seeing you at these family events, correct? Yes, ma'am, I'll be there. Teaching you just because someone passed away doesn't mean your life ends and you don't stop coming around. So those ladies invested a lot in me, and so does me. And my Uncle Frank Martin, who's one of my favorite uncles, and my Uncle Lonzo Lyles, who showed me how to be a pretty good mechanic on doing things. So I had many, many, many people who have invested in James Martin. The product of James Martin is just someone who loved working with kids, someone who looked at his past and says, you know, hey, that kid over there that's messing up could have been me, but luckily enough, there was people who wanted to take the time out to invest in me, who wanted to show me some things. I could be a little hard hit sometimes, but they taught me how to take that determination and mold it into something and make it into something positive. So all those people I named, and I appreciate them, and many more people. We'll be here all day long. Me talking about who invests in. So James Martin is a prodigy of all those people that I named, my grandparents and my mom and dad and some of my uncles and aunts. That's James Martin, someone who loves children. He loves people. I love my culture. I love meeting people from different races. Sometimes I get knocked for that, but I love people. Hispanic culture, Irish culture, my Native American culture. I love all those things. I love learning about people. I love traveling and just seeing different things and trying different food. So I've been blessed to travel into 48 different states working for children. So I'm thankful to those type of people. Even Miss Charlotte Bryson, Millie Sweeney. I don't know if they'll get to see this or not, but those ladies invested a lot of time in. Dr. Pennell, who was over Riverside School principal, who helped me get the mentorship program going. She showed me the right way to set it up. Those people, I just cannot thank enough. I'll always give them their flowers on this side.
Yeah. It sounds like you had a really strong foundation, just with, your grandparent, the people you named. And to me, Mr. Martin, I mean, everything you just stated, you're carrying on their legacy. Because everything you just said, I see pieces of you and all those people who were so important in your upbringing. And so I think that's important. So thank you for sharing that with us. For sure. I know you mentioned a lot about, growing up, you had that gentleman that stepped in as dad, the father figure. And I've often, maybe dating back to elementary school, I can remember you coming into the school and doing things with, the youth. I know that's something that, you are really passionate about. So I wanted to ask you, what got you into youth advocacy and also like men's health, social services? I see you in the community doing that type of work. So what got you into that?
My dad, Sonny, in church. I was a 11th grader, and I had this old 77 Impala. I had a girlfriend over in College Hill. Had 2 jobs, had money in my pocket. And that was the only thing I cared about was that girl, that car, and money in my pocket. And my dad said to me one day after church, he said, "You need to work with these little kids here." I'm like, man, I'm not gonna deal with those kids. They were dirty, their nose was running, hair was real messed up. Clothes. I mean, I'm not doing that. I'm like, I mean, I was very selfish at that time. I was off into me. And this kid comes up to me the following Sunday and bring me a picture. He drew a picture of my car. He drew a picture of me, and he gave it to me. And he said, "I drew you something." And he took off running. And I looked at this picture, and it hit me right here. I'm like, wow, he looks up to me. And my dad comes to me. He says, he looks up to you. He said, "What you gonna do, son?" I said, "I don't know." And I thought about it, and that stayed on my mind. And I went to pick my girlfriend up, and she looked at she said, "Oh, this is cute. Who drew this for you?" And because she said, "I think you need to do that. You need to do that." So I got to thinking, hey, let's do something. So I kind of formed a little art, kind of like you formed a little art program in my church at West Point Missionary Baptist Church. And from there, we went from there to doing Black history. From there, we went to talking about health. And from there, he had like, I think he had like 6 brothers and sisters all together. And so then all of a sudden, all those kids from his neighborhood came to church, and all of a sudden my dad was putting me out here with these kids, working as like a kind of like, I guess you could say, a mentor to them. And he saw that. My mom, I love to entertain her and keep her laughing and smiling all the time. So I would imitate a lot of different people in our family, and she just thought that was hilarious. So she said, I'm gonna put you in 4-H, and I want you to talk about making biscuits. And I had to talk about making biscuits. I had to talk about hosting cows. So getting in front of people has never been much of a thing for me because my mama took that craziness and showed me how to utilize it in speaking. And so I think on both sides, you had the guy working with the kids in church. You had the guy that your mom said, you like to talk all the time. Everybody knows, said, "Well, boy, you just talk all the time." So they kind of put it all together. I don't know if they had that plan or what. And it's kind of like how it come out to be. And I really love talking to people, meeting different people. So from there, I learned. I really love working with children and watching them grow. When I watched that young man, coming from a really rough neighborhood, because me and my dad had to take them home one day, and I looked at his situation. I'm like, man, wow, he goes home to this, no father in the home. That's 7 of them all together, one mother, trying to feed them all, and it just made me want to do more for them. And I believe in speaking. I had a great pastor at the time, Reverend Johnson, was my pastor out of Nashville. He said, anybody can be a leader. He said, but to be an effective leader is to understand the people that you're speaking to. So anytime I'm speaking, I want to be mindful who's in my audience, that I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste anybody's time, because you can't get those seconds back. Once you take them up, you can't get them back. So you have to be careful what you say. And I always made that a point to remember what he told me, make sure that you're saying something that's going to lift someone up, not tear someone down. Now, I will match energy for energy. I will do that, because I definitely believe in that. Sometimes if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything.
That's
so
true.
Men's health, I believe, when it comes to men's health, we do try our best to take care of ourselves, but we're so busy with looking at, I've got this responsibility to do this, I got this responsibility to doing that. And kind of the way our culture has been formed, we are overlooked sometimes. We keep stuff to ourselves because sometimes we do feel like, no, it doesn't matter. I'm blessed to have some great uh, children in my life, and they mothers have been great with them. But Mother's Day looks a whole lot different than Father's Day. It really does, because we get the grill, the little grills, the tinsel for the grill. Mom's gonna get those flowers and get taken out to dinner. We're lucky we get taken out to dinner. We got to cook our own food, but I think it looks different for us, and men's health looks different for us. I think as men, we deal with stress a lot more, and I think we deal with stress in a different way. For me, I really care about my health. My grandfather, who I talked about, Houston Harris Jr., I remember him leaving this earth and not fully getting the opportunity to enjoy his pickup truck and his boat. And I always said I didn't want to be like that. I can't control when I leave here, but I want to enjoy life. So
Right.
I like getting up in the morning time and nothing's popping, and nothing sounds like Rice Krispie. I'm getting up. I can get up and stand. I thank God every morning for that. I
Yeah.
love being able to at 55 do what I want to do to a point. If I want to go take off and run with my dog, I can run with him. I love that physical health side of things. But as I've gotten older, the biggest part of health is mental health. Mental health is the most important part of all. I don't care how much you can flap with your muscles and how big you are or cut or rip. If you're not taking care of this from here on down is no good. So
Yes, sir.
mental health, I've tried to always read good books, be around encouraging people, enlightening people. Also make sure that I'm eating healthy. That has been a big thing because a lot of your mental health does take place with what you eat. I've seen kids eat Skittles and man snap off and start just hyper. And I'm like, if I can do that to a child, just imagine what sugar's doing to adults. There's good sugars, there's bad sugar. Like there's good fats, there's bad fats. So
Yeah.
to me, watching how this world has worked, I've done a lot of bodybuilding and powerlifting, and people need to be very mindful of what they put into their bodies. As I've done bodybuilding, I kind of backed away from because I kind of felt like, wow, man, kind of like a guinea pig to a point because you have these proteins and then you have these amino acids and then you have all these different supplements you can use. And I really had to dig into the background of seeing what they did to your body, and everybody wants a pill to fix everything. But what I've seen is good hard work always pays off. I don't care what anybody say. Uh, you can supplement good beans, good greens for some of these supplements that stick it in a can. I'm old school. I'm a believer in that. I've seen a lot of people who have taken a lot of different supplements that are not around or they got a lot of kidney problems. Keep your body as clean as you can and put as much natural foods in it as you can. Try to stay away from the chemicals as much as you can because those things does affect your mental health. And when your mental health is affected, then your physical health is affected. And as men, we got to look at that more because we're dying way before our wives or our women are because we're not looking at that trying to be healthy. So being healthy is very important, very important. And I think as an African American man, whenever I walk into a classroom or a setting and they're looking at my outer appearance first. And as my grandmother would say, if you look good, you feel good. And people are going to admire people for the way they look. So it's not about turning anyone on and saying, oh, wow, he looks great because his build. No, it's about if I'm feeling good, when I open this big mouth, hey, he sounds good. He sounds like he's healthy. And it's got to match, especially with kids, because kids going to check you from the top of your head down to the bottom of your feet.
Yes, they are. They are. Yeah, yeah. That was good stuff, Mr. Martin. Everything you touched on, just how you got into the youth advocacy, definitely. And that was one reason I'm glad you agreed to come on because I feel like, and we're gonna do a whole set of questions about men's mental health because, like you said, it starts here, and it's so true. And through my grief process, like I say, it starts here, and like he was mentioning too, the things we put in our bodies, all of that matters when we're kind of channeling through, difficult times in our lives. So I guess I'm gonna start out. That was kind of our opener, Miss Martin. We're gonna start out we're gonna kind of get into the grief conversation and we're gonna go from there. Do you remember your first experience with grief, like your very first experience?
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. First experience of grief close to me would have to be my grandfather. Not seeing him anymore. It was different. It was just different because back then your parents took you to the funeral homes. You saw the people. You were just okay, they're dead. But then when my grandfather died, I saw how it affected my mom, my uncles, and my aunts, and it was like, okay, he's not here anymore. He's not here anymore, and I watched them how they dealt with grief. And I've always been able to deal with it real good. Probably the hardest time I had to deal with it was most likely with my son. My mama grew up telling us, old folks grew up telling you, hey, I'm going to die one day. I'm going to leave here. You got to get ready. I'm going to prepare you. You need to learn how to sweep a floor. You need to learn how to cook this. I ain't gonna always be with you. So I heard this my whole entire life from my mom, my dad. I ain't gonna always be here with you, so you kept hearing it.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
it kind of
Yeah.
prepared you to a point that helped. As my mom would say, there's a time to live, there's a time to die.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
so I was prepared for that. And I think as men, we handle it a little bit different. But
Okay.
with my son, it was tough.
Yeah.
I felt like that. But first of all, he was born with some disabilities. That was hard to swallow because all my life I've never been high, never been drunk. Taking good care of my body. And I did ask, I said, God, why me? I did ask, why me? I've lived this life the way you want me to live it. And I could actually hear the enemy saying, this is what you get for doing what's right. And I could actually hear the enemy say that.
Wow.
One of my friends told me, she said, why not you? Your wife has an open mind. You have an open mind. Think about if you can show people how to take good care of a child with disability and how to overcome this. Think about what that would mean to a lot of people who do have children with disabilities. And a light bulb went off. And from there forward, with E-Man, I just knew he was a special blessing. But when he passed away, that was the hardest thing that ever hit me. I dealt okay with my mom and dad. I miss them every day. But there's something about it when you lose a child. When you lose a child, that's a whole different type of death because that's a part of you. Even though you're a part of your mom and dad, but when you watch your child grow, and I challenge everyone out here tonight, if you're listening, looking, I want you to really think about this. When you bury that child, that's a part of you. A part of me is in Rosemount Cemetery right now. When I looked at my son in that casket, it was like a reflection looking back. I love my son with all my heart. And I just constantly praying that one day that he could get over these challenges. But I said, if it's to be, it will be. And my girls kept me grounded. They kept me grounded. I had to be strong for them. And it was just, it's kind of like, I guess you could say, it's like a roller coaster. One day you'll do good. Next day, you're down in the bottom. Next day, you're good. Next day. So even still today, something can hit me. I think about him. My grandmother, that's Lady Brown. They both had the same birthday. So bam, bam, it hits me on March 21st. So it's like both of them are gone. And I think about both of them. And I have to automatically put in my mind, okay, what can we do to celebrate their life? And that's why I had to flip it to deal with it because elsewise I would feel a little depression. And I want to say this to men out there, depression's okay. Anxiety is okay. As I'll share with a lot of kids, you're human. So if you get nothing out of this conversation that you hear with me and Tiffany for an hour a day to people, I'm saying to all of y'all, you're human. It's okay to have anxiety. I get anxiety. I have to say to myself, okay, I'm getting anxiety. Let's back up from this for a minute. Let's put on some nice jazz music and come back to the situation and deal with it. Because there are people who are dependent on me. But more than anything, I got to depend on James. Once again, my mental health. If I let that get out of control, I'm no good to anybody on my job. I'm no good to my family. But most of all, I need to make sure I'm good to James before I can help anybody out. So with my son's death at 20 years old, he served his time well. He served his time well. He was something that an example that you can't overachieve. And that was the toughest death that I had to deal with in my life.
Yeah. I I had the pleasure of seeing E-Man several times, just around, like I say, we in the same neighborhood, the club and all, and in church and all of that. Um, what do you think your source of strength was just throughout E-Man's life? Because like you mentioned in the beginning, you wasn't expecting, him to have some of the challenges he had. So with that, what was your source of strength, not only while E-Man lived, but also after he did transition? What was your source of strength during that time?
I'm gonna tell you, it was tough, Tiffany, because as men, sometimes we're forgotten about. And I hope nobody takes this out the wrong way, but a lot of times as men, we're forgotten about, and the women are remembered. And they go to them first. as men say, well, we're supposed to be strong. We are strong, and we have to be strong. And that's why sometimes we
Mm-hmm.
don't talk about it, because sometimes society make us feel like our feelings don't matter, or he shouldn't be,
Right.
feeling this way. My resource was primarily my spiritual strength. My spiritual strength
Okay.
came from within the Bible, just reading the Word. I mean, but most of all, I watched this guy named Deacon Leslie Oliver. Deacon Leslie Oliver was the example for me. I watched it when his son Kevin drowned,
Yeah.
and
Mm-hmm.
I was in church with him the day when he got the news. He
Mm-hmm.
was remarkable, and I watched how he handled it. And I remember seeing him that same day at Walmart, and I come up to him and shook his hand, hugged him, and said, "I'm sorry about Kevin." He said, "Well," he said, "he was a good son, you know, Lord took him home." He was
Mm.
so calm, he was so together. He was hurting. I know he was hurting,
Oh
but the
yeah.
way he handled it, he was an example for me. And he continued on, um, and he just was a light, a beacon for me. And when I was going through that, I remember this is how Deacon Oliver walked. I remember William English losing
Mm.
one of his children, and
Mm-hmm.
how he handled it. He told me he read the scripture, and he kind of went outside, worked on the car, and stayed busy like that. He said, "The Lord is still good. The Lord gave me so many years of my child, and I thank God for those years." Those two men focused on the good,
Yeah.
not the
Yeah.
bad. And that taught me how to focus on the good and not
Mm-hmm.
the bad, and remembering him and the good things we had, the fun times we had. Most of all, as a man, there's somebody else watching me and how I'm handling. And so,
Mm-hmm.
not going to a bottle, not smoking a joint, not chasing 4 or 5 women, but
Yeah.
just spiritually talking to God, hopping on that motorcycle and riding
Yeah.
two or
Oh
three
yeah.
different in 2 or 3 different counties, and just really getting down to it. Because my dad would say, "Okay, you're upset. So what you gonna do about it? Are you gonna dwell
Yeah.
on it, or are you gonna use this energy for something positive?" And I use that energy for something positive.
Yeah.
I get more involved with kids with special needs through Tennessee Center for Justice,
Oh.
and Michelle Johnson, and that E-Man is still name still rings through that program. So that's what helped me get through that.
Awesome.
Just taking that energy and putting something positive to help another child.
Yeah. And his legacy is still continuing,
Mm-hmm.
like you say, ringing through that program. With that being said, Mr. Martin, oftentimes, like you mentioned, it was a little challenging. Do you have any advice for caregivers who are, primary caregivers to their children, who may be dealing with something maybe like E-Man or, any other type of disability? Do you have any? Because I feel like there's so many eyes on this podcast, and I want to be able to give advice just from your personal perspective and also the male perspective as well.
Okay, that's 3 questions I'll try to answer. One,
Okay.
the first part is be an advocate for your child.
Yes,
Be an
sir.
advocate for your
Yeah,
child. I'm
that's good.
an advocate for children.
Hmm.
I don't care if he's the biggest drug dealer, the biggest gang member. If he's under the age of 18, he's a child.
That's right.
Parents, learn your children. Advocate for them. Know their weakness. Know their strengths. Don't focus as much on their weaknesses. Focus more on their strengths. The second thing I would say is understand their mental health. If you understand their mental health, then you understand how they think, what things may be holding them back. Third of all,
Hmm.
get into a program that can teach you about their rights. If you don't understand the rights, you're going to fail time after time. I'm a firm believer in understanding IEPs. I'm a firm believer in if there's therapy
Yeah.
that needs to be done, make sure the therapist and that child fit. It's like a shoe. You can't, if you wear a size 10, you can't put a size 13 on it and think it's going to work. You've got to make sure
Yeah.
that therapist and your child are able to have some type of communication, some type of bond there. Um,
Hmm.
for us, Vanderbilt was the place. Vanderbilt showed us exactly
Hmm.
what to do with him, man, how to take care of him before we left. Uh, they made sure that we understood things, even from CPR, administrating different things. The Ronald McDonald House, shout out to McDonald's. You know, that's a program I can't, you know, when you, especially we was living in Columbia and he was in Nashville, that was a
Mm-hmm.
lot on us. And to be able to
Yeah,
stay
yeah,
there at Ron McDonald House for, I think like we stayed 2 nights, and our dinner was paid for and our breakfast was paid for. That took a
wow,
whole lot off us. So
yeah,
utilize those things that people have, but also once you utilize them, give back to them so that program can continue on with someone else. So once again, I would just say, uh, advocate for your child, understand your child's mental health, understand the laws. The fourth thing you said was, as a man, I think as a man,
yeah,
fathers, do not back down. Do not back
mm,
down. Take pride in your child. I don't care if you and the mama don't get along. That's water under the bridge. That
mm,
child did not ask to be born here, but do your
that's
best
right.
that you can do to be there in that child's life. Um, I would say I've had to be in school meetings. I've had to tell them to say, hey, I need my IEP meeting. I mean, I'm not, excuse me, I need my IEP paper. Well, we'll just send it to, to your significant other. No, you can CC me on that email too.
That's right.
She needs hers, and I need mine.
Yeah, yeah,
And a lot of parents are separated nowadays, but that don't mean you can't be in those meetings. We get, just like we're sitting right here now doing this
yeah,
in a Zoom. You can Zoom somebody, guys. Do not back up. Stand there, be involved with your child, because it means a lot to them to know that their dad is there. I got to give credit out to my little girl's mom. I remember her playing basketball, and I was going to sit on one side of the one side of the gym, and then I said, you know what? Let me sit on this side. And when she come down court, she looked over there, and she could see me and her mom sitting on the same side. And I
yeah,
played with that. Now I sat on the other side one day, and she had to look across the side of the gym for me to look back. What I said, cool. And people dislike it because when we sit on the same side of the gym, and every time we go, we sit on the same side of the gym so she can see us. You got people that like to
yeah.
run their mouth and pop their gums. It don't matter. It's all about that child.
Mm-mm. That's right.
So fathers, sometimes you got to bow down and do what's right. And the mothers, 90% of the time, the mother's going to do what's right. You just got to, just got to be mature about things. But push to be involved, fathers. Push to be involved. Push and try to be involved, and don't back up. Don't back up.
Mm-hmm.
Stand on business, as young folks say. Stand on
Gonna say,
business, because you're gonna
yeah,
need them one day. You're gonna need your kids, and do the
that's
best you can
right.
do. And if they don't come around, you say, hey, I'm gonna sleep at night because I've done the best I could do, and that's all. That's the best thing to do. And I know a lot of
Yeah,
men get criticized and put down, but sometimes we gotta be tough and be men and take it, but just as long as you know you've done your part. But don't back up. Go to the IEP meeting. Show up for teacher conference meeting. Show up. Let them see you. Let them see you.
hmm,
Let them see you.
yeah. I think you just empowered a lot of people, Mr. Martin, just with the steps of, how to advocate for your child. Even as a man, how to, the importance of being in your child's life no matter what. So that was some good, that was some good pointers there you just gave our audience for sure. Um, so we're gonna shift gears a little bit, Mr. Martin. I know a big piece of this we wanted to talk a lot about men's mental health. Why do you think mental health in the Black community is so taboo, or especially? I think it's especially like that for men. Why do you think that is?
We don't trust anybody.
That's true.
we don't. We
That's
don't.
very true.
Man, we don't trust nobody touching us. So
That's right.
I'm keeping
That's
for
true.
real. I can be very
Yep.
professional, but it comes a time we got to be real. Because I'm real
Yeah.
funny about people touching on me too.
Oh
So
yeah.
I'm like, especially the
Yeah.
chiropractors and all that. But I
Yeah.
think it goes back to what happened to us with the syphilis, in Alabama.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I watched my grandfather, my father, and my uncles, and no, they ain't going to no doctor. Only ain't go to doctor.
Wow.
They halfway dead. There was
Mm-hmm.
always, hot toddy and whatever. They always had some remedy
Yeah.
that they would do.
Yeah.
I, watched my uncles and my dad and grandfather struggle till they get it taken care of. But until my dad got cancer, I saw him go to the
Mm-hmm.
doctor, and when he did go to the doctor, he handled his business. I think it's taboo in our community because as men, we don't trust other
Mm-hmm.
people when it comes to us because what had happened has heavily impacted our community. And that's still a threshold over us today. I think more African American men are beginning to take better care of themselves, because when I look in the gym now, I would say now, like in my gym, which is a great gym. Shouts out to Harvey's Gym. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and it's very diverse gym. When you go in the gym, you see all the pictures of different men of different races and background. But I would say
Okay.
now, say just throwing out a figure, say there's probably three to five African American males compared to Caucasian men now. But back in the day, it may have been 1 per 5. There's more
Mm-hmm.
African
Wow.
American men going to the gym now, working out, being considered more taking better care of themselves now, mentally and physically. And I'm very proud to see more African American women in the gym now. That has really increased
Mm-hmm.
over the years. Uh,
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of men, we felt like we didn't have time to work out, or we didn't have
Mm-hmm.
time to go to the doctor. You know, if I'm going to die, I'm going to die. But I think now, more or less, hey, I don't want to die. I want to enjoy my life.
Right.
I want to be able to see retirement. I want to be able to
Yep.
have it. I think the concept of how we look at things now change. I always say to myself that I want to retire and be able to go to school and read on maybe Tuesdays or Thursdays to kindergartens and first graders.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be able to continue to have my mentoring program. So I
Yeah.
hear a lot of men, they're changing now with their mental health. You hear a lot of athletes saying, I need a mental health break, because life has gotten a whole lot different and a whole lot more harder. I think the challenge we have to overcome now is understanding the steps in mental health, such as going to see a therapist does not mean you're crazy.
Right.
My therapy, believe it
Mm-hmm.
or not, is the gym. I have a good friend
Mm-hmm.
that is a therapist. Sometimes when I feel like, okay, am I looking at this right, or am I not? Let me call her. I'm like, hey,
Yeah.
let me ask Miss Sheila Taylor. Hey, let me ask Miss Ronnie Levy. Shout out to y'all.
Mm-hmm.
Appreciate y'all, because y'all been some
Yeah.
great therapists. Then I got to
Yeah.
throw a dude in there somewhere. I said, let me make sure I'm coming from a straight point from a man. And
Uh-huh.
one of my good friends, Jared, he's up in Springfield, Tennessee.
Okay.
So I'm getting three different types of opinions from a mental health standpoint: African
Mm-hmm.
American
Mm-hmm.
female, Caucasian female, and a male, Caucasian male. And then I've got another friend in Nashville, so we'll talk to.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
it's just keeping
Yeah.
them type of people around you for your mental health, and those people are the people you can trust and confide in, that
Mm-hmm.
whatever you're talking about or you're discussing, that you feel like you can open up. And I think
Yeah.
that's in our community. We feel like somebody's going to tell somebody about my personal life or my business. As I said earlier about what my mama went through, there was
Yeah.
time we talked about certain things, but we didn't talk about that. What happened to her. But you get plenty of other people that still talks about 1969, and they'll say,
Mm-hmm.
I've heard in the background as a kid, that's so and so's kid. That's trauma for my mom. And what
Yeah.
we have to understand as African American people, when you keep bringing up something that happened in 1968,
Yeah.
you're re-traumatizing
Mm-hmm.
somebody.
That's right.
So in
Yeah.
2025, if Miss Lucy down the street got abducted or some type of traumatic situation happened, you're going to have somebody in 2028 going, oh yeah, I remember when so-and-so did this. Yeah, I knew that girl. Mama wasn't know about it. You re-traumatizing them again.
Yeah.
You're making them
That's so true.
relive that again. And in our community, we got to understand that there are things that we do that is not healthy for us.
That's right.
I worked a lot with rape victims. I've worked a lot in
Mm.
48 states with youth. And one of the things that, for instance, for a rape victim is, if she gets raped in a home, she may look at the paint. The paint may be, say, purple, but she'll hate that color
Mm-hmm.
purple. She remembers the
Yeah.
smell of that person's cologne, that person's perfume, and it'll traumatize her. It'll trigger her. That
Oh
is the
yeah.
key word we need to
Mm-hmm.
understand. There are things that trigger us, that
Yeah.
make us react a certain way, and we're like, I'm not going to share that with anybody. So in our community, African American people, trust is the factor. I use it the same way in Latino community. Latino communities are very tight
Mm-hmm.
because they do not trust anyone that is not of their culture. They're not going to let you in. And like one of my Latino friends said, when I go to a Mexican restaurant, a lot of their families are running it. That's that cultural thing. That's that family
Yeah.
thing. I respect that. That's not a
Oh
racist
yeah.
thing. That's a cultural
Mm-mm.
thing. We work together as a family. We trust each other as a family. Um,
Yeah.
but I think as we, people of color, have got to learn how to trust people more. But what I am happy about is that some of my people, young people, are becoming therapists. There's a more high demand now for African American females for
that
therapists.
is
I've
true.
got a young lady in Nashville, Diamond. She's a young lady as a therapist. She's an awesome therapist as a young African American female. Awesome, great. Georgina, she's a therapist. People are seeking that out more, and now more African American males are beginning to get into that field, psychologists, and also a therapist, and just working in that mental health field. We're going to lean toward trusting them because someone that looks like you, I think I can trust them. And that's I think that's another piece of what I'm seeing, because when I got into the mental health field, a lot of people was questioning the medicine. I don't want my kid doped up. I feel you understand that. I don't like being doped up either, but I think this is going to help him get on task where he can focus. And what we want to do is start cutting him back off of this rhythm. We want to cut him off. The whole plan is to not have him on meth, but in order to get him to focus, we have to do something. And so I've never had any resistance from any people of my color when we talk about that, because a lot of times as professionals, we'll be talking about DM5s and DMAs, and they're like, what is that? We have to have somebody that can bring it down to their level and talk their language. Say, hey, this is going to be okay. Guess what? He's ADHD, but I would definitely recommend him being on some type of sports team, because he's going to have energy out this world. And he's probably going to be a great running back, or he's going to be a great basketball shooter, or she's going to be a great cheerleader. This is not a bad thing. A terminology we used to use all the time at my old job, Tennessee Voices for Children, was, I'm not my diagnosis. Excuse me, my diagnosis does not control my future. And that's true.
Gotcha.
Your diagnosis is a part of you, but it does not control your future. Because a person with ADHD, I can go out here and try to run with them, they will run circles around me. If we can teach that person to know how to utilize that in sports, wow. That's a positive thing. Kids with autism are very creative. And with them being very creative, my God, we learn how to take that and utilize that. Some of the best kids I work with have had autism. And let me tell you, the creativity that they have, none can touch. It's all about how we use that diagnosis.
Yeah. It's kind of like, I know when I work with child care, and it's like reframing.
Right.
Like, yes,
That's
this
it.
may be what it is,
Reframe it.
but we're gonna reframe it to
That's
something.
right.
This is gonna be a strength.
That's
And I think a
that's
lot
right.
of times, we
Exactly
don't,
right.
we always, we see what's there. We don't see beyond sometimes what
Right.
it can be. And I think even you talking about the trust aspect, Mr. Martin, a lot of times, we don't trust, and that makes us push stuff under the rug, and then it's a blowout, which kind of leads to my next question I had for you. In your professional experience, what do you think poor mental health looks like, especially in Black men? Because a lot of times, we'll see the outbursts, we'll see the, so and so is smoking marijuana, or we will see, so and so tried to hurt themselves. We see the behaviors on the back end versus the front end. So, what are the signs and symptoms? That's a better question. What are the signs and symptoms of poor mental health? Like, what should we be looking for that, so and so may, be having some mental health things? Like, we need to get them on track, just from your perspective.
From my perspective, mental health comes in all different aspects. But I would definitely say somewhere in there, you got to care about yourself. You have to, we live in a society now that says that putting self above anyone else is selfish. It's not. If you're flying on an airplane and they tell you to get your vest first, don't worry about the next person. You can't help them if you can't help yourself first.
Help yourself. That's right. Yep.
And you have to be able to look at yourself and say, am I headed in the direction I want? Poor mental health comes from poor hygiene. Poor mental health comes of low self-esteem.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Poor mental health comes from not eating the foods that can make you feel good. which we know we know the food is fuel, and it fuels what? You'll never hear a lot of your chemists or people talk about this, but food fuels the mind and the
Mm-hmm.
body.
Yeah,
And they try
that's
to
true.
separate that a lot of times. So poor mental health can come from not eating right, not exercising. Poor mental health can come from not being around positive people. And I
Mm-hmm.
mean positive people who push you sometimes, people who give you creative criticism.
Yeah.
I've heard people say, well, I'm no good. But then you need to change that. If you don't want to change that, then that can be a mental health thing. you
Yeah.
know, but you get so used to something. It's like working at the gym, as you were saying earlier. I can work all day long, my biceps, and do that all day long. But guess what?
Mm-hmm.
My biceps is going to get used to that routine. And so after 2 weeks, this is nothing. What you said. So then the third week, I got to switch it up and shock it again.
Yeah. Yeah.
So your friends need to be like that. This old saying, if all my friends think like me, then we're
Mm-hmm.
probably a dumb bunch. You want to always
Mm-hmm.
hang out with someone that's smarter than you, someone that's struggling, because now you have a balance.
Uh-huh. Right.
And your mental health is like that. You want to have it to where it's balanced. There's going to be some days you're going to be unhappy. It's going to be some days you're going to be happy. So what did we learn from the unhappy days? Well, I'm unhappy yesterday because I didn't get up in time enough to take the trash off. Now, the dumpster's closed, so I got this garbage. Well, tomorrow, I'm going to get it done.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy today because I got up. But also, I
Right.
recognize what I done wrong yesterday. I didn't beat myself down. So another piece
Yeah.
of this, people don't beat yourself down. I'll say it again. You're
Mm-hmm.
human.
Yeah.
You're
That's
human.
true.
There's things like, for instance, you said for our boys, for black men. I've talked to many different young black men from Memphis, Chattanooga, different areas that were locked up in juvenile detention centers.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them are saying not actually having a relationship with their dad. That affects their mental health. My dad's
Wow.
been locked up. My grandfather's been locked up. That's all I know. And
Mm-hmm.
they try to work from that. And that's hard on them. When I hear boys say, I just want to be called son. I never been called son.
Mm-hmm.
That's a mental thing that's tough on them.
Mm-hmm.
When we get into the marijuana and stuff, I've tackled that in my younger days. I would, have a lot of disagreement, but a lot of young people are smoking too, to the point because it's self-medication.
Yeah.
A lot of
Yeah.
young people, and this is not Mr. Martin, because once again, as I said, I never smoked it, never had a need for it. But when I talk to other people and young folks, and I thank you, young folks,
Yeah.
for sharing, because it helps me to relate to
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
They
Oh
do
yeah.
it because they say, hey, it keeps me calm. It helps me out.
Yeah.
And I believe some of them. I really
Yeah.
do. But
Mm-hmm.
we have to find an alternative to that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
just like the vaping.
Yeah.
These
That's a big
companies,
thing.
parents, these companies want your kids. They done
Yeah.
killed off a lot of the people who've been smoking cigarette with lung cancer, and many different other cancers that smoking causes. But with this vape, we really don't know exactly how much damage it does and how quickly it does. We do know
Yeah.
it gives you shortness of breath. So you got to be careful. Now that you can put THC in these things,
Mm-hmm.
they can
Mm-hmm.
smoke them and they're odorless. Parents won't even know they're smoking them. They're easy to
Yeah.
be hidden.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
the devil is working in a whole new form and a whole new fashion now. So
Yeah.
for our people, and really for all people,
Mm-hmm.
you got to pay attention what's being
Yeah.
marketed to your kids. Those cell phones, those advertisements. I grew
Mm-hmm.
some of them TikTok. In certain countries, it's not allowed to show certain videos, but in this country, everything goes.
Yeah. That's
And I'm
true.
glad a discussion come up about banning, not to ban, because now parents are aware. Whoa, wait a minute! I didn't know Roblox had this going on. Once again, we don't think about that missing for our children's mental health. When your child's
Right.
spending too much time on a video game and not enough time
Mm-hmm.
socializing, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Because now I don't like what he said. I'm gonna break down and cry. I want to kill myself because
Yeah.
your child don't know how to socialize.
That's true.
So you have to make sure they get a balance of both. You know, it's
Yeah.
tough. You know, it's tough. You trying to tell your own kids sometimes, like, okay, so what you do this? What they gonna do? Get mad? Guess what? They gonna get mad and get over it. Okay, guess what? But you keep on going.
Yeah.
Our
Yeah.
children need someone to stand in their corner and tell them, well, not tell them, but teach them how to sort out what is a problem and what is not a problem. Because now
Yeah.
everything to our kids through social media, through school, it's a problem.
Yeah,
Some of it's
that's
not a
true.
problem. You got your
And I
whole life ahead of you, and you really give it up at 13, 12 years old because
yeah.
your mom didn't buy you a pair of new Jordans, or your mom won't let you put extensions in your hair.
Yeah.
That can be tough mentally on them. So I hope I answered that question pretty good, because
Yeah.
I'm getting that from my kids when I talk to my kids. Well, my kids
Uh,
talk to me. I teach SEL, so one of the things
yeah.
my SEL classes is different from everybody because I want our kids to be able to communicate. I want our
Yeah.
kids to be able to talk. Um, yes, I put papers in front of them to fill out, but it's
Uh-huh.
more than anything, it's teach them how to socialize with adults. A lot of our
Yeah.
kids don't know how to socialize with adults. They go to their room, close the door, pick that phone up, or pick that
Yeah.
game up, and that's it. And
Yeah.
we don't know how to socialize with our kids too as a parent. Well, I don't know what to say. I'm saying the wrong thing. Guess what? Take
Mm-hmm.
it from grandma. I don't care if I said the wrong thing. I'm gonna tell you how I feel. I'm gonna tell you what you need to know, not what you want to know,
Wanna
and you'll
know.
be
Yeah.
just fine. Cause I got it that
Uh-huh.
way. So
Yeah, no, you answered it spot on. And it's funny you mentioned SEL. I work, like I said, in childcare centers, and we focus so much now on social emotional learning. Like, it ain't even about your ABCs and one, two, threes. It's
mm-hmm,
about, are you gonna be prepared for kindergarten? Are you gonna be prepared to handle yourself emotionally?
mm-hmm,
Are you gonna socially? And then also, like, when everything you were saying, I was thinking too about just coping with life in general.
right,
Like, whatever happens, whether it's you mad at your parent, or even
mm-hmm,
as adults,
right,
with the situation I'm in, I mean, I have to learn how to cope with this, because this is a forever thing.
mm-hmm,
Our loved ones don't come back on this side. So
yeah.
you hit it spot on with it, Mr. Martin, for sure. Yeah, you definitely hit it with it. So from that, I was thinking about how, a lot of times you mentioned a lot about what the kids are going through. They're experiencing pain. Like,
Yeah.
it's pain. Um, a lot of times pain can outweigh logic, like our way of
Yes.
logically thinking. And a lot of times I feel like you feel like you're losing control. And I felt
Mm-hmm.
like that myself. Hey, like I said, I'm placing myself in these conversations, because I've definitely felt like that over the past 9 months. What do you suggest for people calming themselves in those moments, whether it's children, teens, adults? What are your suggestions? Because sometimes it can be quite overwhelming, and you do hear of people taking their life. You hear about this type of thing because life is just too much.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to know your thoughts on how to cope with life, and calm in those moments where it does seem overwhelming.
Once again, I've been blessed with the Spirit being over me and just reaching back. And there have been times when I'm like, okay, how did I get it? How did I get here? And it's like, man, does it even matter that, some days it feel like it don't
Mm-hmm.
matter. But then
Mm-hmm.
I said, you know who you are. You were
Yeah,
born for purpose.
that's
If he
right.
didn't want you here, you wouldn't be here.
That is so true.
And you got to know your value or who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes in life, you are separated from people for a reason. And it's up to you to find what that reason is. I often wonder with my son, and then it
Mm-hmm.
come out to be that, okay, he died. But when I look at my youngest daughter, who one day wrote on her shoe, she misses him big time. Number 20, 21, she puts it on her basketball shoe. Did
Mm-hmm.
not know that it was on her shoe until one day I dropped her off at basketball practice, and she had two pair of shoes, and the shoe rolled over. And God I trust, love you, Bubba. His death meant something to me and his mama,
Wow.
but to his
Yeah.
sister, it was motivation. And she
Mm.
would tell you, hey, I'm gonna play every sport that my brother couldn't play. I'm
Wow.
not bragging because that's my child. That ain't got
Oh
nothing to do with
yeah.
James Martin. That got to do with her and her relationship with God.
That's right. Yeah.
My oldest, traveling the world, saying,
Yeah.
I just want to see
Yeah.
different things and
Mm-hmm.
deal with depression. I know I have value somewhere. You
Yeah.
do. Go back to
Yeah.
that word. Go
Mm-hmm.
back to that word. Go look at that person who, I know your podcast, if I'm in the wrong, just cut me off. So,
Oh no, you fine,
so
Mr.
let me
Martin. You
know.
hey, you're pouring into me. Trust me. This is one reason I wanted to do. I need pouring into myself. So no, you are fine.
I remember
You're
Jesus going
good.
to the cross
Mm-hmm.
and not physically being there,
Yeah.
but I can't speak for nobody else.
Yeah.
But I know he's real because when
Yes,
I
sir.
look at the story,
Yeah.
how this man gave what he gave, if I'm going to follow him, I got to take my
Mm-hmm.
cross up.
Yeah.
My ex-father-in-law, Andrew Seekers, used to say
Mm-hmm.
it all the time, if you're going to follow Christ, you're going to pay a price. You got to take your own cross. And those words
Yeah.
were so correct. Anything in life, Tiffany, we do, we
Mm-hmm.
got to suffer for it.
Yeah. That's true.
We got to go through some heartache. As you said earlier about the young man, Quentin, he
Yeah.
he didn't die in vain.
That's right.
He lived his
Mm-hmm.
life fullest.
Oh yes.
And what
Yes.
you're doing here with this podcast wouldn't have come about
No.
without him. Look at the
Mm-hmm.
people that you're touching. So I tell people, I just have to pray first because I
Mm-hmm.
don't always know what to say and don't want to
Right.
say the wrong thing.
Right.
May not
I get
always
that.
say the right thing, but just
Yeah.
know where
Yeah.
my heart is leading me. Is that
Mm-hmm.
I would say, value yourself. Nobody's going to value you like you value you. And
Mm-hmm.
that young man, when he sung a song, he didn't sing it halfway. He
Mm-mm.
didn't
Oh
sing it
no.
2/10 way. He sung it
Uh-uh.
120%.
It's all into
And
yeah.
when he left this, we remember how he sung.
Oh yeah.
So
For sure.
when I care about him, whatever I do, I gotta put 120% into it. So when you find
Yeah.
yourself down, depressed, say, okay, I can't stay here.
Yeah.
I don't like the way this feels.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like it. It's just like, to me, it's like being bloated. And this gonna sound a
Mm-hmm.
little disgusting. Granny used
Yeah,
to
you
always
fine.
say, take a little laxative to
That's right.
remove from that bloat.
That's right. That's
And
right.
because it's not good for you.
Ooh, that's so true.
And in
Yeah.
life, we have to make sure we pay very close attention to what we are. We have to pay very close attention to what we are allowed to feed into our life. Because I truly
Yeah.
believe we can dodge a lot of anxiety. We can dodge
Mm-hmm.
a lot of depression by
Mm-hmm.
what we allow to come into our life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Value yourself. Take care of your financial stability. Anything else in between there, it's got to go.
Yeah.
That is how
Yeah.
you stay floating. That is how you stay in a good place. Even when I think about my parents,
Mm-hmm.
I think about the positive things more than I do the negative.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. Yeah. I agree. Everything you just said, Mr. Martin, was right on spot with the question. For sure. So I guess we're gonna switch gears one more time and talk about your mentorship.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely believe in being proactive. And when I think about our young kids, as adults, to all the parents, to the mentors like yourself, even people like me who come across these little preschool children, um, do you what do you think we can do as adults to help little boys and girls address their mental health early in life? Because a lot of times I feel like we don't have those conversations when we're that age, and we have things that happen to us, and by the time we're teenagers and adults, life is just like a jumble.
Mm-hmm.
When I feel like sometimes if we're having them conversations early, like I said, I do a lot of SEL now, teaching kids how to handle their emotions and things
Right.
like that. What's your thoughts on how we can be a little more proactive in that early on?
I think the more hands involved we have with them,
Mm-hmm.
talking to them, communicating with them. There's a thing that I love using called Darman. And my
Okay.
kids turned me on to Darman. And
Okay.
basically, he's a guy who just basically makes these skits about everyday life with kids. And I think by talking to children, meeting them where they are, my mentorship comes from my grandparents, mom, and dad, but mainly my uncles and my aunts. And basically, they knew me. They took the time out to talk. I had some uncles and aunts who didn't take the time out to know me. And so, as I got to be a grown man, we really didn't have a close relationship. But the ones that, took the time out to talk to me, how's school going, how's college going, those are what I'm closest to. And so you can't expect someone to be close to you if you don't stop and ask what's going on in life. A lot of young men need to be challenged. There are things that's out there in social media or certain things they see in their community that they think, okay, he's a man, he got 3 babies. Well, it's okay you pay child support because you're being a man to take care of your children. You're being a man to say, I'm going to take this responsibility. I'm not going to allow some other man to handle my responsibility. Or as a woman, I'm going to raise my kids. I'm not going to say I don't need a man, but what I will say is that I'm going to do what I need to do my part to take care of my kids. Because we also, as African Americans, we got to quit being so hard on each other and help mentor each other. I learned how to be someone a decent dad and not being in the same home with my kid through a lot of single women that I dated, and they mentored me. That sounds funny, but a lot of the women I dated, I learned how to do certain things because I watched them. What was good, what was good for the kid, what wasn't good for the kid. They mentored me, whether they believe it or not. So mentorship is important because we have a lot of people that don't have resources, like young men who can't change a car tire, young ladies who may not know how to cook. It ain't because they don't want to cook. It's because no one has never taught them. Young men, they like messing with cars. A lot of my young men, we talk about cars, motorcycles, different types of things. Man, they'll sit there and talk for days and days. Guns. I had a young man who I was mentoring. I said, you love guns that much, boy, and you keep getting caught with them and getting arrested for them. You need to go to the military, and you like shooting at people. You need to go to the military and get you a government job. He's like, they'll pay me to shoot some people. I said, man, you get into the Secret Service, you can do what you need to do to help protect this country. And that just blew his mind. And some people saying, he got that criminal background. I said, you don't never know what God got for you until you try.
Never know.
So that turned him around from being in the streets to now not being in the streets. If you really like guns that much, our kids need someone to put them in that direction. My parents were country people. They didn't know a whole lot about college. If I had it all over again, I probably would have been a psychologist, and life would have been different. But I'm not upset. God has given me a great life. Mentors don't necessarily have to be men working just strictly with boys. I think being a mentor in this day and age, kids need both. Girls need to understand how a real man operates daily, not every now and then, daily. Boys need to understand how a real woman operates daily. That's why we have the confusions a lot of times on what a marriage looks like, or just a simple relationship between a woman and man looks like, or vice versa. How you get down, just relationships. Period. We don't understand how to be in one because we never saw one. Oh, well, mama does this over here, daddy does this over here. Daddy got 2 girlfriends, mama got 2 boyfriends, or mama got 2 boyfriends, girlfriend, whatever. It doesn't matter what your situation is, it's how you treat each other. And mentorship actually starts in the home. It actually starts in the home because children are going to emulate what they see daily.
They see, that's true.
And my kids are so intelligent. I mean, kids will tell you, they can't. I didn't know what's going on. I knew what's going on. They've been through so. Can't. I'm sleep. I ain't sleep. I know what's going on. Coming through the back kitchen door, or daddy on this side of town. I saw daddy on this side of town. We was going to a basketball game. I saw this talk. Mentorship is important. Important. And parents, you are valuable to us. I don't care what anybody say. You are valuable to us. You're human. I'm a human being. I'm gonna make mistakes with man. But if you tell me, hey, you may want to talk to kids because they only been inside town. Because that's what used to happen a long time ago. People would come up and say, hey, I saw your son over in Macedonia. Just
Yep.
letting you know. My dad, like, what you doing, man? Doing? Oh, I'm dropping so-and-so. Don't you come and build so-and-so. So
Uh-huh.
they didn't have cell phone back then. So
Right.
you get home, you get hit with something like, wow, what you doing, man? What, how you find I was over there? That's
Uh-huh.
mentorship because they're looking
Yeah,
out for you. So
that's
parents,
right.
we need you. And too many times you get beat down. You're doing a great job, parents. You're doing a
That's
great
right.
job. You keeping food on the table, keeping their head up. You know, you keep pushing. Things may not be perfect, but don't stop. But always evaluate yourself and try to be better. And that way, your kids will do the same thing when they get older. Nobody's
Yeah.
perfect. You're human. So parents, keep doing what you're doing. Keep pushing. Nobody hadn't told you. Pat yourself on the back every now and then. Say, hey, I'm doing something right. And get mentorship for yourself, parents. If there's someone out there that you saw go through a hard time and just didn't care, but also now they changed, give it that parent. Say, hey, how'd you do this? How'd you
Hmm.
change up things?
Yeah.
And we got all have mentors. And don't be afraid to ask.
Yeah, that was a great segue. That was my next question. I was going to ask you, what does it look like for an adult to want a mentor? Do you have any suggestions on how they can seek mentorship?
I believe, once again, I know everybody's not, things have changed. My biggest mentors were probably deacons in the church.
Okay.
Like I said, Deacon Leslie Oliver, Deacon William English, Revis Harris, my Uncle Frank Martin. All those men had different
Hmm.
lifestyles, but at the same time, they mentored me. And even though I was around a lot of men who made mistakes,
Hmm.
but I didn't see those mistakes. They taught
Gotcha.
me the right way. And I think the
Right.
way to find good mentorship is in the church because
Gotcha.
spiritual wise, as men,
Hmm.
you're going to find men that's in that church because I said, hey, some of those men, they lived
Hmm.
wild life. They'll tell you on the side, hey, well, I was out there, but this woman right
Uh-huh.
here, she,
Uh-huh.
if I was going to be with her, I had to come to the church. I had to change because I wanted her in my life. That's
Hmm.
powerful to me that a man can say that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think another way of finding good leadership too for mentor is getting involved with stuff like sports, where you're around other men that are
Yeah.
pushing other kids. Same thing with
Yeah.
women, getting involved with the Boys and Girls Club, Smart Girls Program, tapping into the Boys and Girls Club, being a
Yeah.
volunteer, park recreation, being a volunteer. You learn how from other men and other women how to mentor not only kids, but you actually become a mentor to yourself, to other people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And and so I think that's a big plus. I think another way of finding mentorship is taking time out at the end of the day and sitting down with yourself
Hmm.
and writing down who you are and what you want to be in this world and what legacy you want to leave behind. I
Mm.
think for every
Oh.
man, if he ain't looking at leaving a legacy behind, something's wrong. Something wrong as a man.
Mm.
I want to leave a legacy behind. Every man, let's just call it like it is. We all want to be Mufasa. We all want to be Mufasa. And we know
Uh-huh.
if we don't have a Simba, we got a Nala.
Yeah.
Right now, I got 2 Nalas, and I got to leave the kingdom in good hands with them. So
That's
we have to
right.
look at it like that. We got to leave a legacy. And what did Mufasa do? Talk to his son. What did Simba do?
Yeah.
Talk to his daughter. So we got
Yeah.
to communicate. That is the best way to mentorship is communication.
Yeah. I like how you went through like the church, but then also other options because now we live in a society where some people don't even go to church. Like they may do
Right.
virtual or whatever. So they may seek mentorship, like you said, in a coach or,
Mm-hmm.
whatever that looks like. So thank you for giving us a few different options there when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to mentorship. And we're gonna wrap up, Mr. Moore. This has been a really good conversation. I feel like I've been sitting here being a student and my mental Rolodex is just like going going. I can't wait to watch this back. But I wanted to ask you, in wrapping one of my couple of few last questions. Every time you go live, Mr. Martin, I really feel like you're being a mentor to Facebook for sure. I don't get on Instagram a lot, but I'm on Facebook a little bit because of this podcast. And I feel like you are very intentional about what you say when you do choose to go live. It's not often, but when it is, your words they bring a lot of power. I wanted to ask you, how do you keep an attitude of gratitude with all you've been through? With E-Man's transition, a lot of the things you've went through in your life, you was at the Boys and Girls Club forever, and left that career, all of that. What has helped you to keep that attitude of gratitude? Because I think I need to know for myself. And I think a lot of times it's easy to go down in the dumps when life gets hard for all of us. But you're just always so positive. So just want to know your thoughts on that.
put a little humor in this.
Okay.
My younger daughter gonna kill me. I tell her, I tell both my girls, how do you see
Uh-huh.
yourself?
Mm.
Um, I'm not a tribal chief, but I'm a high
Mhm.
chief.
Gotcha.
And I've seen a lot of kids come into my village, and y'all are
Okay.
all my kids.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you look at the high chief, King James, and see him, I'm not the king above God, but in my own domain, my home, I have to be my king.
Right.
And I have to make sure that when I speak, that my words are encouraging, that my words are motivating. If I don't motivate you to do something good
Mm-hmm.
and feel happy, I'm gonna motivate you to be mad.
Right.
And if I get you mad, it's to get you activated. If I got you activated, then I had an impact. And the whole point of me living is to have an impact.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
I've been blessed with your mama. And it cetera goes out. These parents allow me to work with these children.
Yeah.
Y'all gonna always be my kids. Y'all are grown
Yeah. Uh-huh.
and doing great. But I have to remember that God put me here for this. And I thank him for entrusting me with y'all. So
Yeah.
God keeps me humble. My children keeps me humble. Most of all, I'm blessed to have the mom and dad that I have, and my mother who could have been stuck in all her trauma, but she had
Yeah.
no time for her trauma. She had a son to raise,
Right.
and I want to
Right.
prove to the world that she didn't waste her time, and that my dad, who stepped in and gave me his last name, that he didn't waste his
Yeah.
time, and all those invested in me, I owed him.
Yeah.
I owe him. I don't have time to cry about what didn't
Mm-hmm.
work out, but figure out a
Mm-hmm.
way to make it work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's powerful. That is really powerful. So that leads me to one of my, like some we winding on down. If you could choose a song that would be your life story, what would that song be
He
and
saw
why?
the best in me when nobody else could see it around me.
Mm. That's a good one.
Followed with Eye of the
Yes.
Tiger. So I'm always a contender in a fight somewhere. So those two songs, but He Saw the Best in Me would be the song that categorizes my life. But
Yeah.
Eye of the Tiger would be right there on the tail end of it too.
On the tail end. Gotcha, gotcha. Well, tell us about your mentorship, Mr. Martin. What do you have going on? I know I've seen you at Planet Fitness training people sometimes.
Mm.
I know you do your mentorship stuff. Tell the people what you do and how they can connect with you and what all you got going on. Because I know you have a lot of stuff
Mm.
going.
What the mentor program, what we got going on is that we're now servicing youth after school hours, where I'm working with kids from the ages of 10 all the way up to 17 years old. And the
Yeah.
mentor program is called Young Kings. And primarily, the program is based off of the Creed movie. Um,
Oh.
Pretty well, we look at the Creed movie and we discuss following my father's legacy. Is it a
Mm-hmm.
good thing that we follow our father's legacy, or how does his legacy shape us? And my
Mm-hmm.
boys, they love that. And because, of course, Creed is about, him trying to establish his own legacy. But finally, he accepts who he is, but
Mm-hmm.
also who his father was to him. And
Mm-hmm.
getting over the trauma not having his father there and the anger. And Young Kings is about basically being a king in their own pride. We study the behavior of a lion. A
Mm-hmm.
lion, pretty well, is a protector in the pride, which is his family. And in that protector, him and the female respect each other, understanding the role of manhood, masculinity, femininity.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and within that, we discuss those things: how to treat a woman, how to treat your mother, how do you treat your aunts, also how do you treat your father, how do you treat your grandfather and your uncles. And we break all that down and learn how to implement that into our lives. We also learn how to be distinguished gentlemen. We also learn how
Mm-hmm.
to focus in on career building, athletics. Are we more than just an athlete, or are we going to be able to turn this thing into a situation where we can go to college and go from
Mm-hmm.
there and develop a career as a doctor, lawyer, whatever, or a therapist? you know, or maybe we're going to continue on with sports. So we open up that door to just say,
Okay.
hey, you are someone. Here's the things that you can choose to go into. And versus doing a one-on-one, I do group mentorship. It's a
Okay.
little bit more easier. It's
Yeah.
I think you have more impact because you have boys sitting around the table that kind of talk about things. And it's easy to talk
Yeah.
talk about things. The one that I do after school, majority of those guys are trying to get in shape. I do
Mhm.
mentorship for working out in the gym, um, and helping them to build their self confidence up.
Mhm.
Also pushing boys into becoming trainers. Once again, if you see more people that look like us, I think you're
Mhm.
going to find more people that's going to be able to train. I often train from Zoom, believe it or not, or FaceTime.
Nice.
I have
Okay.
trained people through FaceTime. And
Yeah.
as I'm sharing with a lot of young men, you look at Peloton, that's basically
Mhm.
what it is, and
Yeah.
there's more than one way to make money, but not
That's
just
true.
only making the money, but mentoring them in different avenues. I've got a
Yeah.
cousin I'm going to talk to. He's a big mechanic. A lot of boys are good with their hands. If you can steal a
Yeah.
car, then you probably be a good
Yeah.
mechanic. So
That's
we just got to
true.
take
Oh
it, like you
yeah.
say, reframe it. So that's
Reframe
what
it.
my
Oh yeah.
mentorship program is doing, ma'am.
Oh no, I was just saying, yeah, I was agreeing with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can
Mhm.
reframe the thing. Yeah.
And so also I'm looking forward in 2025 is getting off the ground too for girls.
Mhm.
Vision 2020. What is your vision as a female? A lot of girls
Mm.
need male role models as well.
Yeah.
But more than anything, is incorporating them with women who've gone through challenges, women who've not
Mhm.
had fathers but have earned their degrees, who've earned their nursing certification. Um, Women, have gone through a lot of different things. So we're reaching out, doing that mentorship with women as well as young girls and young men. Um, I'm most happy about going to the juvenile detention centers and working with the fathers. I was doing that last year with the Murray County school system, and I got to brag on Murray County Public School for allowing me to do the SEL in the juvenile detention centers because we were doing
Mm.
something that a lot of people was not doing. We was
Mhm.
mentoring the young men who was fathers, and we got fathers that are 10, 11, 12, and 13 years old fathers. And then there was those that was like about to turn 18 when they was going to be released. And I had to
Mhm.
share with them, you're going to get charged with child support because this whole time she's been, getting WIC and et cetera, government system.
Yeah. Yeah.
So don't be upset when your check looks a little short because they're going to take it out. And they're like,
Mhm.
what? So
Yeah.
I had to prepare them for what was going to happen once they come out of incarceration. A
Mhm.
lot of our men don't know that. A lot of them were dealing with mental health. So it would lead them right back into the streets again.
Mhm.
And so I said, I hate to see you get hit with not paying any type of medical insurance when you're 30. Oh, you owe $300,000 in medical insurance or
Right. Yeah.
$30,000
Yeah.
because
That's
you hadn't paid.
true.
So that mentorship is just not about spending time, but preparing them for the next step in their life. Where meeting them where they at. And the same thing with the females who are incarcerated.
Yeah.
We have a lot of young girls, actually more girls now getting incarcerated than anything. With the
Yeah.
girls taking care of their bodies. A lot
Mhm.
of girls are
Right.
not taking, females are not taking care of their body. It's
Yeah.
pretty bad when boys are taking care of their bodies better than girls now.
Yeah. It is. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's kind of what our mentorship program, and they're called Young Kings.
Okay.
You can reach out to me through Facebook, just inbox me. For the girls, it's the same age, 10 to 17. We're dealing with,
Mhm.
building them and teach them how to embrace themselves. But also, hopefully this year we can have a retreat and get them involved in some things in Nashville, like going to T-Pack
Mhm.
and getting dressed up and doing all those different things we did at Boys and Girls Club.
Yeah, I think it sounds you're just opening their eyes to a whole nother world. And a lot of
Mm-hmm.
times, people they're just not taught,
Mm-hmm.
we had strong foundations, but everybody doesn't have that. So I appreciate you for sharing
Mm-hmm.
that, and I will tag all your information in the description so people can definitely reach out to you on some of it. Well, do you have any last words for the people, Mr. Martin? Anything you want people to really leave our conversation with today before we sign off?
I want to thank you for having me on here. I will be releasing a book here probably the end of 2025 or right around the fall.
Oh,
Discussing
wow.
some things that need to be discussed. I've been blessed And I keep hearing my dad's voice say, if you don't tell it, somebody else going to tell it the wrong way. so,
That's right. That's
so
right.
if you don't
That's
tell it,
true.
somebody else going to tell it the wrong way.
Yeah, tell your own story. Your story matters. That's something I caught on to about a hoodie. And it was your story matters. And it does. Everybody has a story.
That's it. And I want to say to my
Yeah.
Boys and Girl Club members, my Town Family Network members, Tennessee Worcester Church, all those young people that I had an opportunity to work with, I love you from the bottom of my heart. I want to say to my 2 girls, I love them. I love my son. I want to say thank you to God for allowing me to be in this position. Also, I want to say a shout out to Garland Brown and Janetta Robinson, and also after Teresa Davis.
Yeah.
They played a very important part in my career. I love all 3 of y'all. Thank you. Dr. Cornelius, too.
Yeah.
Officer Green. I love all y'all. Marty Atkinson, thank y'all for just being involved, but mostly to my kids. You come underneath me and work with me in some type of form. I love y'all. Thank y'all, because the respect is still there today. And I'm going to give you your flowers while I'm still on this side, too. Thank you, Tiffany. Continue to do what you do. Do not stop. Do not stop. You are a
Thank you,
queen,
Mr. Warren.
and your king is still beside you. He's there in
Yeah.
the best way, spirit with you. Do not
Yes,
stop.
sir. Yes, sir.
Same thing to you people out there. You're human. Don't stop.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Martin. I really appreciate it. I really, really, really do. So with that being said, we gonna sign off. I always end the show. Quinn used to always tell me, no matter what was going on, Mr. Martin, all is well. And so I'm gonna end tonight's show with all is well. I hope you
All
guys
is
have an
well.
amazing week, and
You
we look
too.
forward to coming back in 2 more weeks with another guest, another episode. We're gonna keep the train rolling, as you just encouraged me to do. So we're gonna
That's it.
keep it going. Well, all right, you guys have a good week. We
You
will
too.
talk to you soon.
Stay blessed. You too.
We hope that today's episode has encouraged you and helped to identify strategies to navigate your grief and begin the process of moving forward in life. Grief Tribe Healing Vibes. What were some key takeaways from today's episode? Drop a comment below and remember to like, follow, and subscribe.